press on it, and then it
So
should
there
come
I
up.
am.
There you are. How you doing?
I'm really, really good. Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I think
Yeah, well, I retired a month ago, so
that was the first. You
my
beat me
mental
to
health.
it because I was going to say happy retirement to you as
Thank
well.
you. Yes,
How are you
yes.
finding it so far?
It's only just starting to become a bit more than a long holiday
Is that?
because, at first it's just like, well, I've had 2 weeks off before. I've even had 3 weeks off before.
Yeah, yeah.
Now it's getting to the stage where I'm starting to think I need a little bit of structure in my day because I have started getting up late at the
Right.
moment. And
Oh, okay. Right. Got you. I can't really imagine you not keeping yourself busy, really, or doing something. So
yeah, I am. I've always got, I've got a skincare business.
yeah,
I'm a Reiki healer. I teach yoga one night a week. I'm in a choir.
yeah.
So I am busy, yeah.
No, it's brilliant. And then I know we obviously haven't seen or spoken to each other for ages, and there's a little bit of a question that I might have for you later on that kind of
Yeah,
reflects on that a little bit.
yeah.
Because you might be able to help me out with something while you're there as well. It's great that you're able to kind of come on. Thank you so much for that. I've only recently realised that you're actually on here at all, so it's great to sort of find you on here and catch up
Yeah,
with you. And there's possibly a little thing that we might be working on with
that's
each
right.
other.
Yes, yes. The action for happiness.
Yeah, which sounds really good. So that might be something that you perhaps want to explain a little bit as well.
Yeah, yeah,
If it's all right with you, would it be okay to kind of just hear about kind of your experiences and your story and your background and
yeah. Absolutely,
anything you want to
absolutely.
share?
Oh, as you know, I just the job I retired from was working with substance misuse. I was doing that for 20 years.
Mm,
And the reason that I felt drawn to that is because I had an addiction myself.
mm,
Long time ago now, it's actually 40 years in September
right.
since I stopped. And I know you said like not to mention the names of things. So
We have to be a bit careful on
yeah,
anything.
I'll just say that what I was addicted to, when you think of illegal drugs, it's the number one, it's the worst one
Yeah,
generally.
yeah,
Um, as far as ruining people's lives and well, ending people's lives as well. It's the big one. So that's what I was addicted to.
yeah. Would you say that that's kind of right? Because a lot of people think of alcohol as well, don't they? So
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think alcohol's worse.
mm,
In my 20 years working in the job, I've seen more people die from alcohol
mm,
than from drugs. And the reason that I'm so open about my own past is because I went to a conference about 10 years ago on addiction and recovery. And
mm,
one of the speakers was an American guy, I forget his name, and he said that the reason that there's so much stigma around drug use is because people who've recovered don't talk about it.
mm.
Whereas, everyone knows someone or knows someone who knows someone who's a recovering alcoholic. And it's all kind of, oh, well done, mate, you stopped drinking, that's great. Because most people do like to have a drink. But where drugs are concerned, if people who've recovered keep that recovery quiet, then this notion persists that people never get off it. Once an addict, always an addict. And also this idea that addicts are some sort of subhuman species that aren't the same as everyone else.
Yeah,
So when he said that, I thought that's a good point. That, and I'm from now on, I'm going to be open with everybody I meet, everybody I know, and let them know.
yeah. No, it's really good, and I think unfortunately, like you've obviously spoken or heard from that person and gained that, but I think unfortunately it's still something that's I think is still quite that way, isn't it? Inclined really of where
Yeah,
people still don't talk about it, and unfortunately, this is what annoys me about this app a little bit is the important things that me and yourself would have spoken about at work and encouraged people to talk about.
yeah,
This app, you can talk about alcohol, but you can't, as far as I know, and as far as other people are aware, you can't really mention other things. So
yeah,
it
yeah,
just shows that really important conversations to have, I think, and it's a shame that in different ways. I think this app tries to protect itself, but it kind of goes some way in preventing those conversations from happening still,
Oh
doesn't it?
yeah, because I'm absolutely not suggesting it's a road anyone goes down.
No.
Not glorifying it or making it sound, you know, romantic or anything. It's
Yeah.
not a good thing.
Yeah. Is what would I've got so many questions for you really, but what kind of was the biggest things that you learnt during that period of time that helped you to kind of make the changes that you went on to?
Um, I don't know whether I learned anything in that time because it is a time where you don't mature. There's not very much self awareness.
Yeah.
You just live every day the same, and you get to a point where you don't really care. For
Mm.
me, what made the change to make me say, right, that's it, I've had enough, was that it didn't even make me happy anymore. I mean, um, no one starts out intending to have an addiction.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people can be very judgmental and say, well, it's self inflicted. Well, of course, you make that first choice to try something for the first time, but everyone thinks that they're going to beat the odds. Everyone thinks, well, I can just do this recreationally and I won't get addicted. And my reason for starting in the first place was I was 19 years old. I was living with a 30-year-old man who I absolutely loved to bits, but he
Mm.
was abusive and violent, and had convinced me that that was all my fault. So, of course, I just kept thinking, well, if I can change, then he will change, and he would promise it won't happen again. So
Yeah.
it was really a horrible state of mind to be in. One minute he'd be very romantic and showering me with flowers and compliments, and the next time he'd be telling me it was neither use nor ornament, or he'd be hitting me. So your emotions are all over the place when
Yeah.
something like that's going on. We don't all have, some people are very strong. They've had childhoods that have equipped them to deal with anything. They've
Mm.
got those internal resources. I hadn't. My dad said once I pretty much brought myself up,
Yeah.
which, I was fed and clothed and everything, but no one really took any notice of what was going on for me emotionally, or no one seemed to have any interest in me. So I was very, very self reliant. And that meant I didn't learn coping techniques.
Mm.
And so when I first tried what I tried, um, and it blocked everything out for that one evening. I had an evening where my mind just went quiet and it was lovely. And I thought I'll try it again the next day and the next day. And I was aware that there was a risk that I could become addicted, but I was already addicted.
Mm.
We tend to use the words addiction and dependence as if they're the same thing,
Yeah.
which they're not, because you can become addicted to gambling, but there's no physical component to that. So the fact that I was still taking it every day, even though I knew I was really on thin ice and I knew there was a risk that dependency could happen any day, the fact that I still did it shows that I was already addicted. It was already in here because that's where addiction lives.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I just used it as a way to cope.
Yeah. I think we hear that story so often as well, don't we? Really, for different reasons and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
things. And in a way, like we've never had this conversation about, but I was quite lucky because I grew up in an area where there was different things that happened at different times that really put me off of that
yeah.
path. Instead of, um, I lived one village away from where Leah Betts was kind of grew up and things.
Oh wow.
So like obviously that was a local person that was all in sort of the papers and the media. Um, as I was quite a youngish age, with similar ages really, so that was quite a shock. Um, and then I went on a little. It was my work experience. I was on work experience training from school, and they wasn't supposed to show me, but I was working with emergency services, and they showed me like a book full of pictures of someone's life who had obviously been a baby. There was baby pictures in there, pictures of them growing up, them as a teenager, then them changing through addiction, and then the next pictures as he turned over were like autopsy pictures and things and stuff of that. So that was another big shock. And then I had people that I knew, like friends that I was close to. We used to be in a band. So some of them, they were kind of rock stars before they were ever rock stars, like, trying to live the lifestyle without creating the music. And then I saw what happened to them as well. So for me, there was lots of different things where I ended up, even as a youngster, kind of supporting friends and other people that I knew, which absolutely put me off, really. And thought I was quite fortunate of that, because if I had any thoughts to, something would happen where I think, no, that's not for me. But yeah, it's such a common thing that we obviously heard, especially during work, of people using it as coping mechanism, and that's obviously alcohol use as well. And things,
Anything that shuts down your emotions is really handy to have, isn't it? When your emotions are something you can't deal with at the moment.
Yeah. So you kind of said that did it stop working for you? Did you say, or you got bored of that?
Well, no, not bored. It's just that I used to get a little buzz out of it.
Yeah.
And it's true what they say. Your tolerance grows, and you need more and more to get a little buzz. But then after a while, you find all you're doing is really shutting out the physical symptoms of withdrawal. And what you're getting is a great sense of relief. If you withdraw and then suddenly you get something and you have it and you go,
yeah.
And you're kind of happy in your world. That's what counts for happiness when you're an addict, is getting whatever it is you need. And I just remember one day, I'd had some and I just felt completely flat. But I wasn't quite ready to do anything just yet. And we'd hit that famous rock bottom. We were living in a squat. We had no gas, no electric, no running water, just a mattress in the middle of a room. It was really kind of almost cliched. And a friend called round, and she was horrified at how we were living. And she said to me when he wasn't there, she said, if you want to sort yourself out, you're welcome to come and live at mine. You need to get off that and you need to get away from him. And I just wasn't ready. Anyway, then he got arrested a few weeks later, and I had gone up to my dad's to get something to eat because I hadn't eaten for days. And the week before, me and my boyfriend Rob had stayed at my mum's because she was on holiday. And we talked my brother into letting us stay there for a week. It was a big step up from, it's like a holiday. We're not sleeping in a squat for a week. But unfortunately, while we're there, unbeknownst to me, he stole my brother's camera. And my brother was 18 and he was, that camera, he was a big photography enthusiast. So that was an awful thing to do. And I'd been with Rob for 6 years then. And all the violence, I'd never left him. The mental, emotional abuse, I'd never left him. But this was just like, you've reached outside of me now. You've hurt my family. And in that moment, I thought, no, it's definitely over. And then my friend called round again, and she repeated her offer of somewhere to stay. And I said, oh yeah, I'm not quite ready yet. And then that night, about 11 o'clock, I'd been out in the afternoon trying to see who I might bump into, who might have something for me because I didn't have any money. And someone said they were going to go to score, and they would because they actually owed my boyfriend a fiver. So I was like, oh, have you got that £5? And he said, well, I'm going to score, I'll drop you some off. And I said, well, if I'm not in, the little front bedroom, just help yourself, go into the squat. The little front bedroom, there's torn wallpaper, just tuck it behind the torn wallpaper. So it was 11 o'clock, I came back, and I knew, why would he put something there for me? But I didn't want to face that fact, so I tried behind the wallpaper, nothing there. I thought maybe it slipped down, and of course there was no light, apart from a street light outside, but I had a box of matches, and I was striking a match and pulling a bit of paper, and striking another match and pulling another bit of paper. And then I'd used all my matches, and all of a sudden, I was saying before, you don't really have self-awareness. All of a sudden I had this massive jolt of self-awareness, and I saw myself and I thought, I did well in school. This was not the future I planned for myself. And here I am, standing in a squat, knee-deep in wallpaper. And I just it was just like the blinkers got lifted, and I went and I got all my belongings, put them in a bin bag because that's all I had, and walked 4 miles to my friends, arriving about 2 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
and that was it for me.
Did you realise at the time, like, what an important moment that was probably
No,
going to be? Or, no?
because I tried to stop a few times before, and I mean, stopping is one thing.
Yeah.
With addiction, staying stopped is another. Even if anyone's never had an addiction to drugs or alcohol, most people have had something. Maybe it's like, oh, I'm putting a bit of weight on, I need to stop eating chocolate, or I need to stop smoking. And it's that ambivalence, it's an addiction when you have that ambivalence that you want to stop,
Yeah.
but you don't seem to be able to do what you're saying you're going to do.
Yeah.
Um, so yes, I'd stopped a few times, but started again within days, weeks. So I didn't realise at that moment that that was it. But as I was having my withdrawals, it suddenly became a lot easier because I thought these are the last withdrawals I'm ever going to go for,
Yeah.
and I felt like every ill effect now, every horrible physical symptom, I'm going to welcome them because they're symptoms of recovery.
Yeah.
It was so much easier than it had ever been before.
Yeah. No, it's obviously. I think it is what you stand out for me really is the difficulty that really is obviously because of the the feelings, the emotional the emotions that obviously someone then can be so much more aware of, especially if they've been using substances as a coping mechanism and things. It's just
The drug all kind of come back on you.
yeah. Is
It was
there?
hard for the first few months because I felt really bad about myself.
Mm,
I felt guilty that I'd done that to myself. I felt guilty on all the lies that I told my family. Oh, the electric's going to get cut off unless I pay the money, and I'm £10 short. Can you lend me a tenner, which obviously no one ever got back. So I felt bad about that. I felt bad about what I'd done to myself. And I remember it was months later, and it's very, very vivid memory. I was sitting upstairs on a bus, and we just stopped at a bus stop, and I just suddenly had this overwhelming feeling of, oh, like myself.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a long way from self-love. I had to go a long way before I got to that point, but liking myself from loathing myself
Yeah.
was a huge step. That was when I knew I'd really done it.
Sounds like because obviously speaking to a lot of people don't sort of have that recollection of those kind of key moments, but you've been able to describe them quite clearly, really, haven't you? I think.
Well, I've always been into. I mean, they call it journaling now, don't they?
Yeah.
But I've always kept diaries,
Right.
or just got a piece of paper and written down my thoughts. I've always found that's really helpful in sorting my head out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have. I'll say things to me. I'm still friends with my school friend, and I'll say, "Oh, remember when this happened in 1977?" He'll say, "No, I don't remember that at all." And I said, "Oh yeah, we were here and we were there, and there's this other person who was there." So I've got a good memory, but I do help it by writing things down.
I was talking to someone the other day, and obviously getting older now as well. We was sort of. I said to them how good it would actually be if a film crew had followed you around since being born, and then they said, "Oh, I don't know if I'd watch mine back." So that kind of sparked a different conversation as well. But
Well, I'm writing my life story at the moment.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've just got up to being 18, and I've been reading it as I've been writing it. I've been saying to my husband, "Shall I read you a bit?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." And at first, when I was really small, he was like, "Oh, that's a cute little story," and "Oh, that's sweet." And then when I got to about 14, he was like, "Oh, here we go, boys." He's like, he doesn't really want me to read the next bit because I'm coming up to meeting this abusive partner, and he said, it will just upset me too much. And he's like, "I don't know how you can think back about it and you can write about it." I said, "But yeah, that's completely sanitized by me now. There's no emotion attached to that for me at all."
Yeah. I obviously I didn't know that about yourself as well, and it's another huge aspect, isn't it? We haven't really covered like domestic abuse much on here and things, although we've had short discussions on it. We used to do this like every Friday, and this was me kind of restarting that really of what we used to do. and we'd done that for almost 4 years, like every week. So I think it's good really that we had a break because I think we needed it. But yeah, we sort of covered it a little bit in the past, but again, like on its own, that's a huge subject itself,
Well, yeah.
and something huge that people have to kind of manage, deal with, and even then you've still got like grief and loss kind of involved in all those things as well, haven't you?
And when I broke up with him, I cried for ages. I was devastated
Yeah.
because it was someone that I'd loved,
Mm,
and someone that I'd hoped and hoped and hoped over 6 years would change. Because
yeah.
I used to think if he would just change, we would have the most amazing relationship.
Yeah.
But at some point, you have to say that's not going to happen.
Yeah. No, it's I understand that a lot actually, and it is, isn't it? I think you kind of grieve even of what could have been in lots of ways during that time as well.
Well, in 1990, I was told that he died,
Right.
overdosed,
Mm,
and I cried my eyes out
yeah.
because it was like 4 years that I've been broken up with him for. But he was a human being, and he had a lot of potential. He was a very clever man,
Yeah.
and he'd been part of my life, and I just thought it was very sad, a waste of a life.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I understand that. What would you say is like one of the biggest misunderstandings of sort of addiction and people that have got addictions as well?
I think that there's a certain type of person that is an addict. Like addicts are different from everyone. And you and I know from things that we've learned through work that we understand what's going on in the brain, um, and how it's the amygdala and how it's really kind of trying to keep you alive, and it just has got the wrong messages. And about dopamine, we understand all about those brain chemicals, and we know that it can happen to absolutely anybody.
Yeah.
I remember I was working in probation, and the probation officer said to me, I was working with alcohol clients, and he said, I don't understand it, Sue. I don't understand addiction at all. So I said, have you ever smoked cigarettes? And he said, no, I'm healthy. I said, oh, have you ever eaten junk food? Have you ever thought I shouldn't be eating this, or I shouldn't be watching so much TV? I should be going to the gym. He said, no, can't relate to any of that. I said, have you ever been in a relationship that you knew wasn't good for you, but you couldn't end it? And he went, oh, yeah. And I said, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Your rational mind knows that you shouldn't be doing this behaviour, but part of your brain, your primitive brain, that doesn't think rationally, just goes, no, it's part of my life. It's important to have it. I have to do it.
Yeah.
You can pick up, I still smoked cigarettes up until 2005, and health warnings were all over them. Cigarettes kill. And I would still pick up this packet saying cigarettes kill, open it, take a cigarette out and light it. So it doesn't really matter, how much you know about the harm you're doing to yourself, or how much other people tell you. It's neuroscience, there's stuff going on in your brain that, as mere human beings, unless we understand what's going on, it's very difficult to try and fix it.
It's strange as well because I heard a conversation on the radio just a couple of days ago this week where they were kind of explaining like fixation and the habits of around something. So like getting a cigarette out of a packet and tapping it on your hand, all those sort of things. And how, but they were talking about it as though it was something brand new, and obviously we talked about it years and years ago. So, but everything goes round in this great big cycle of where you hear the same conversations.
I had a client at work once, and he was addicted to what I've been addicted to, and we had him on medication that took the physical need for him to go and use, and he wasn't used, and he hadn't used for ages, but he got arrested for shoplifting.
Yeah.
And I said, well, why did you go shoplifting? He said, because I missed the bus.
Yeah.
So even though that was just a means to an end, he'd actually become addicted to that because it gave him a little hit of dopamine, and dopamine is really what we're all addicted to.
No, that's right. I mentioned on here that when I was a teenager, I was addicted to going to the gym, and kind of the doctor, when I went to, I kind of found a lump under my arm, which as a teenager, I was petrified for, because you hear all the cancer
Oh,
stories
yeah.
and that sort of thing, and you think the worst. So it took me ages. I was worrying about this lump for months and months before I'd done anything about it. Eventually went to the doctor, and he said, "Well, what on earth have you been doing? Because it's your glands, and like all of them are up. You've got a lump like on your neck, you've got behind your ears, and all sorts." And he ended up asking me loads of questions about what I was doing. He accused me of using sort of different things and stuff like that. And eventually, after a couple of appointments with him and a few tests, he said, like, what do you do during the week? Like, so I take it you're still at school or college and things. So I explained that to him. And then I said, mentioned the gym. And he said, well, what's that? Like an hour, couple of hours a week, something like that. I said, well, no, it's like 3 to 4 hours every evening, like after school. And then I'm cycling to school, which was 12-mile bike ride there and then back. And he said, like, you are just doing far too much. But for me, it was the good feeling that you got in the gym. There was people that I met there. The cycling was, all weathers. That was part of it, because even if it was, in a way, I preferred it if it was raining and cold, because of that feeling. Just on it. And I got used to all that, and then he gave me the excuse. He was like, "Well, right, well, I want you to have like a 4 to 5 month break of doing absolutely nothing. Just go to school, not." And then that 4 to 5 month, he gave me the excuse to not do anything at all for quite a few years after that. So, but
Did you find that difficult, just cutting out the gym just like that?
Yeah, at first I did. At first I did. I kept up the cycling to school. In a way, that was out of laziness, because I could beat the school bus. I could get to school at the same time as the school bus did, because of where we lived, and it meant that I could like have an extra half an hour in bed in the morning, so I didn't have to get up as early. And then after school, I could beat the bus home, because it used to go all the way around the blocks everywhere. So I could beat the bus home and get an extra half an hour at home as well. But yeah, I'd rather cycle 12 miles at the time to schools, just to have half an hour extra in bed. But yeah, I did. I kind of missed that, like that buzz that the gym gave me, the good feeling, even the aches, waking up aching the next morning. That was all part of it.
Yeah. There was a program on a few years ago about a secondary school where they did an experiment, and a load of the kids gave up their mobile phones for, I think it was a month. I don't know if you saw it.
No.
Those first few days, you would have thought they were withdrawing from some really powerful drug.
Yeah.
Their anxiety was going through the roof. And then gradually you saw them kind of doing jigsaw puzzles and reading and going out on their bikes and stuff. Yeah. So it just shows you can be addicted to anything.
Yeah.
And I would say that I'm probably addicted to TikTok.
Right. Okay.
Because I will sit and I'll be busy and I'll do all the things I'm doing. I'm writing a book at the moment. So I'm doing that. I'm doing this. I'm doing the other. But it gets to a certain time of night and I think, right, chill now. And I'll have half an hour on TikTok. And then I've set it so that I get a little message saying your time's up and you've got to press the code to get back in. And I just press the code to get straight back in.
Yeah.
Even though I set that up to stop myself. So, there's that ambivalence there, as I shouldn't be on TikTok till 1 o'clock in the morning if I want to get up early and have a productive day. But I'll just watch one more video.
I'm sure there'll be people here that relate to that as well, and just social media use in general, isn't it?
You are getting that little hit of dopamine. And
and they kind of organise it as well in the background, don't they? They want you really. If you're not using it, they want you to be thinking about using it. So
and and it's destroyed my attention span.
Right.
Yeah. If I'm looking at a video and it's gone on for more than 30 seconds, I'm like, just want instant gratification.
That reminds me to make mine shorter then, so I'll have to do that. But I've made I'm not sure about yourself, but a couple of times recently I've left my phone by mistake at home. I've left the house, gone down the road, and then within 10 minutes you're kind of searching your pocket for your phone to have a look at it or to check it. And then, the days where I've done that and not been able to kind of return home, I have every now and again. I think I'll have a quick look at my phone and then realise that I haven't got it on me. So it was so kind of we are kind of hooked on them, really, aren't we? And,
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of the use of them, and
It's
everything's
the
on
first
there.
thing when you've got any like space, like you might be on a train station waiting for a train, or
Yeah,
sitting in the doctor's reception. It's the first thing you do, isn't it? Maybe once upon a time we would have had a book in our bags or whatever to sit and read, but now it's all what's on my phone, what's going on in the world,
yeah,
and it's very stress inducing, I think.
yeah. No, definitely. I know, like all the time, I'm encouraging people to take social media breaks and things like that. I know
Yeah,
Smith is in chat. He's kind of said that they encourage like a phone detox at work and
yeah,
that sort of thing. And like I know, going back quite a few years, really, there was a period of time where I knew that I was soaking up everything like a sponge, all the information, the news, people's conversations. Um, and it wasn't doing me any good. So I knew that I kind of thought, right, I need a break from that because I'm just taking everything in. It's not information I can use or that's helpful to me,
yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
walking around worrying about, about what I've seen and things like that. Um, so coming out of that sort of period of your life, did you? It doesn't sound like you went straight into obviously working with people and things like
No,
that.
I mean it was the last thing I wanted to do.
Yeah, right.
What I
Okay.
wanted was to have a very ordinary life.
Mm,
I wanted a job. I wanted my own home because I've been homeless really on and off for quite a long time. I
yeah.
wanted my own place. I wanted to pass my driving test and get a car. I wanted to have foreign holidays. I just wanted to have what people had.
Mm,
And I always had pretty much dead end jobs.
yeah.
But I didn't really want any part of that world that I'd
Right.
been a part of.
Yeah.
And then I injured my back in work in 1992. I
Mm,
was working for a Littlewood store.
right.
Remember them?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I hurt my back in work, and I was off a lot, and I was being told I'd be sacked, and I ended up taking redundancy. And I was on the sick for quite a long time.
Mm,
And while I was on the sick, it made me think, I don't want to be working for people making money for them anymore.
yeah.
I want to do something that helps other people. And a friend of mine, he said to me, I opened up and told him about my past. And he
Mm,
said, well, you're a wasted resource. He said, you could be doing something with that experience.
yeah.
And I said, well, I've tried. I've been looking through the papers, but it always says you need experience. And apart from my own experience, I don't have experience doing the job. So how do you get experience doing the job if you can't get the job unless you've
Yeah.
got experience? And he said, have you thought of doing voluntary work? Which is not something I'd considered.
Yeah.
So I volunteered for a place called Sahir House. Don't know if you've
Mm,
heard of them,
yeah.
but people with HIV and AIDS.
Yeah.
I volunteered at a place for women going through domestic abuse, and I volunteered for Lighthouse Project, who was ended up being the first the ones that gave me a job, working with people with drug and alcohol issues.
Yeah.
Because I decided that's what I want to do, and that's what I did for 20 years.
Yeah. Kind of goes into, yeah. I might as well ask it now. Really. Like something I've often wondered is where I kind of obviously took a different route into that work environment. And things you must have seen so many changes over the years of the
Mm,
way targets and things like that
yeah,
and stuff. And something I know that I really struggled with is when I originally started, I started in a certain way where things were very open. You could spend pretty much as long as you wanted, as long as obviously you was doing the work and you was supporting someone, um, like with one client or with one service user. Um, and then that slowly got narrowed sort of down further and further and further, and I really struggled with that. And then you wouldn't really kind of know, but when I kind of came back into that work environment, it was said to me really is that we're bringing you in because we kind of want you to work sort of the older way. We know that you're kind of used to working with people and you've had really good results and things. And we've got all these people that kind of need to speak to someone and we need to kind of catch up really. And there was a few other problems that were sort of mentioned to me and stuff. So I thought, great, like I'm kind of getting free reign here, and that's kind of what made me kind of feel good, as in I really feel like I'm helping people
Yeah.
in that way. And then after a certain period of time, it then was put across to me as in, well, you know, thanks, you've kind of done that, you've kind of achieved these things, but we can't really work that way anymore. We kind of need you now to take on more of a caseload, like in a different way, and work within, like, talking to people for like 10 minutes sort of thing. So it really kind of narrowed things down again. I always struggled with that, and I've mentioned it on here quite a few times. And I even had a couple of people say to me, "Why can't you just come in, do the job, get paid, and then go home and not worry about it?" But it fascinating. You really was an inspiration to me, because I I kind of looked at yourself and I thought, all the changes you've kind of seen, and even when I left, really, for those reasons, as part of them, is I kind of kept looking back thinking, how have you got people like Sue that are able to kind of adjust? And I know that you're really passionate about helping people, but like, what helped you to change with those changes, really, and to be focused on what you was
I
doing?
think I know that it's the commissioners who are asking for different things all the time. And I know that to keep our jobs, we have to do what they want and please them. And it doesn't please me at all.
No, no,
But if I didn't have a job, I wouldn't be able to help the people that I'm helping.
yeah,
So I kind of look at it that way. I mean, even I think when I was last working with you, I had 30 people on my caseload, and that was about average. When I left a month ago, I had 60.
yeah,
So it's changed in that way. And also, like, I do see people now on a private basis.
yeah,
I've not seen anyone for drugs, it's mostly been alcohol.
yeah,
Um, but I will work with them in a way that I feel is beneficial to them.
yeah,
And I can remember, because I'm qualified in hypnotherapy, and I remember like mentioning this in work, and oh no, we don't, basically, we don't believe in it, you know.
mm,
So you can't use that. And I'm a Reiki master, and I had a client about a year ago, and he said, I'm really struggling with sleep. And he said, once a month I go and have a Reiki session, and I always sleep well after that, but I can't afford to go more than once a month.
mm,
And I said, oh, I'm a Reiki master. And he said, oh, can you give me Reiki? I said, I can't without checking with my manager. So I asked my manager, can I do Reiki on this client? And she said, oh, I don't know. I'll have to ask my manager. So when I went back to her a few weeks later and I said, did you ask about whether I could do Reiki? And she said, oh, no, she said, my manager said to me, I don't pay people to sit around doing Reiki all day long.
yeah, yeah,
And I thought, this would have helped this particular guy. I wasn't asking to be a Reiki worker and nothing else. I just
yeah,
wanted to do it, you know, in conjunction with the job I'm doing on this one client who had said to me that it helped him.
yeah,
And I just thought, now I can say to someone, I'll give it a Reiki, or would you like a hypnotherapy session, or I would do an LP on them, or EFT and a tapping. I can try these different modalities out on people, and I haven't got to write reams and reams of case notes afterwards.
yeah. Nice, and it's interesting actually, because when I was there, I had 100, well, just under 100 people on my caseload, when I was there, and quite often it's, oh, we're going to take some people off of you and things like that. It just didn't happen, but that
Yeah.
different time, really. But I think that's what I've found from obviously doing what I do now, is that you have got that freedom to go back and to help people in how I was originally trained in, really, as in using like those alternative therapies and things, because
Yeah.
I I find them so. I've got my own opinion on some of them. Like, there's some things I've been trained in where I think the biggest thing that it gives people sometimes is just that relaxing time of where they can just chill and sit
Yeah.
and relax and take
I
time.
feel like everything's been given to them. They're the star of the show at the moment. If I'm doing Reiki on someone, sometimes it's the first time that anyone's kind of shown them any care.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And that is a big thing.
Squishy's just asked, how did you get into it? How sort of what encouraged
It's a
you to?
Reiki. It was funny, really, because after I got off drugs, I was very I don't want anything drippy, hippie that I used to be as a teenager. I'm not, did a little bit of yoga, but that was it. I didn't believe in anything else. And then I'd been on a health and beauty weekend and I'd had a Reiki healing, just it was free and I was curious. And I felt so relaxed afterwards. And I thought, I wonder how you get to do that.
Mm.
And I was Googling how do you learn to do Reiki on people? And it was all very mysterious. It said that you had to have an attunement.
Yeah.
And then I looked, okay, Reiki attunements, and they were, a couple of £100. And I thought, well, not that curious. And literally a week later, I'm on my emails, and it was something like Groupon or the Daily Deal Company. And it was a Reiki attunement, Reiki level 1 attunement, normally £240, £40.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, well, it's bound to be. If nothing else, it sounds like a nice, relaxing way to spend a day.
Yeah.
So I went and did it, and I came out completely, I had my attunements, and I came out like a different woman.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I just got really kind of spiritual and really interested in, started doing Tai Chi, and I started doing Kundalini yoga, and then I trained to teach Kundalini yoga, and then I got Reiki 2, then Reiki 3. And it just really opened my mind up. It was amazing.
No, that's brilliant. I've got my own story around that, really, which I'll share in a moment. But with that, it's a great shame that, again, when I first started in that area, they were using kind of anything really that kind of helped people. And I always said, even if someone thinks it's helping them by having picking up a stone and putting a stone in their pocket, if it's helping them, it's helping them.
Absolutely. My sister-in-law said to me about Reiki, oh, you do know it's just a placebo effect. And I was like, well, there's no such thing as just the placebo effect. The placebo effect is an amazing thing that our mind can heal us by us thinking that we're having something that's healing us.
No,
So, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't need to know whether there's science behind it. All I need to know is, does it work or doesn't it work? And if it works, I'll keep on doing it.
No, definitely. And I think that's where it's a shame, because it was as well lots of different tools to try and engage with people and to kind of bring people in, which then gives you the opportunity to talk about other things with them as well, isn't it? It's build up trust as well. My experience with it is when I first started in that area with addictions, I'd had a motorbike accident when I was younger, and every kind of January, February, when it started getting a bit cold, my knee would really sort of lock up and start aching and all sorts. And there was one winter where I went to walk up a flight of stairs in my 20s, and I just couldn't walk up it. My knee had just gone at the bottom. Couldn't put any weight on it at all. And I thought, like, what on earth's going on? I'm in my 20s. I can't even walk up some stairs at work. And someone there noticed it. And they said, oh, would you like me to do some Reiki on your knee? After I told them the story. Didn't know what it was, and I said, well, might as well. So I sat down. They obviously put their hands around my knee, and it actually made me feel physically sick, because I could feel my knee getting hot, and it was as though I could feel bits moving around in my knee. It was a really strange sensation, and from the feeling, I could imagine like bits moving in my knee. And as soon as she'd kind of finished, didn't know really what to expect, but the pain and the aches had gone, and I could walk up the stairs. And I went from thinking that I was going to have an operation on it to kind of get it sorted, to it not bothering me ever again since.
That's amazing, isn't it?
And after I didn't look at it straight away, but after a few months, I kind of thought, do you know what, I'm kind of going to have a look at this myself and see if I can kind of get trained in it. And thankfully, there was just someone who lived just around the corner that was a master that done the courses and things. So, it's had some embarrassing moments. It chilled me right out when you're going through the training. And there was a couple of times where I fell asleep during that while other people were obviously doing their training. And then waking myself up snoring and things like that and stuff. But my knee, it worked wonders. I've never had an issue with it since. It's very strange. But
I think we live in this box that science has described for us,
Mm.
and there's so many things outside the box that science, because it can't explain it, it just goes, that's not real.
Yeah.
That's woo woo.
Yeah.
Maybe one day they will be able to explain it, but I feel that
Mm.
there's much more that we don't know than that we do know. And
Yeah.
someone was asking you about ghosts before.
Oh yeah.
I believe that I think as you get older and you lose more and more people,
Mm.
it starts feeling like they're just kind of in the next room. They haven't gone very far.
Yeah.
And I do believe it's like there are radio waves in this room now that I'm not picking up because I haven't put a radio on,
Yeah.
but they're still going. They're still in the room.
Mm.
Bohemian Rhapsody has just gone there, and something else has just gone that way. If I had a radio here and I switched it on, I would pick it up. And I think it's a bit like that. There are things that everything is all around us. I believe in a
Yeah.
different dimension that we haven't got the technology in our brains to see.
No.
Sometimes I think children are much more likely to see that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is about how we are conditioned, and we're told at some point, don't be silly, you didn't see that. There's no such thing as that. And we kind of go, oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm wondering in some ways whether it might be a thing that just allows us to kind of get on with life and experience it ourselves, and then we start kind of coming back again.
Possibly. It would be very crowded, wouldn't it, if we could pick
Probably.
up on everything around us.
Yeah.
But I had an ex-boyfriend years ago, and mentally it was like we were very, very close. We had so many experiences where you couldn't explain it any other way. I'll just give you one. We were driving, well, he was driving back from Scotland. It was night time. I was supposed to be map reading. This was before phones with Google Maps and everything. I had a physical map. I knew we had to come off at Junction, whatever it was, for Carlisle. But I'd fallen asleep. I wasn't even facing the window.
Right.
And just as we went past the junction, I was like this with my eyes closed, sleeping. I went, we should have gone down there.
Right.
And we should have gone down there.
Yeah.
And he was like, how? You didn't even have your eyes closed? How did you know? And I could only assume that I knew because he could see what junction it was.
Yeah.
Because we had so many times when it wasn't like little things like, I was just thinking of that TV program right now. It was really, really kind of bizarre things that you couldn't possibly explain.
No,
And I've never had it with anyone else, and he'd never had it with anyone else. But together, it's maybe we both were a little bit psychic, not enough to normally matter, but together, it was quite strange.
Yeah, I think that's why there's been so many things where I kind of say that I'm open-minded and things. They used to kind of explain, obviously people say you're religious and things like that at different times, and I always used to say to them, well, quite spiritual, but then people say, oh, that means this, where for me it means something slightly different.
Yeah.
So, but something else that happened to me years ago was myself and a friend and his young son, who was about 3 or 4 at the time, went to see an old school friend. We hadn't seen him for years. We went round to his house. First time that we'd ever been in the house, first time that the old friend had seen us or my friend's son. And my friend's son was just playing sort of in the living room while we was talking. And all of a sudden he said, can I have a look at the boy in the cupboard? So we all kind of looked at each other. His dad said, oh, what boy in the cupboard? Don't be silly and things. He said, no, there's a boy in the cupboard. I want to see the picture of the boy in the cupboard. And the old friend from school, who we hadn't seen for years, hadn't known what had happened to him or anything else at all. He said, well, actually, there is some pictures in the cupboard. And he went over to the corner cabinet, got these pictures out, held up this picture of a young boy, and it was a relative of his that he was really close to that had passed away some years before. And we all just sat there and just thought, like, well, how did that happen? What happened sort of there? They do say, don't they, obviously younger children sort of, are a lot more sensitive and open to picking up things like that. But so many experiences like that. So I'd never sit there and say, oh no, I don't believe in this and I don't believe in that.
I'm quite, reincarnation is something that there's, I won't say proof or even evidence, but there's a lot of things about children saying this was me in my last life. Well, they didn't even say that, do they? It was just like when I was a mummy and I died in the car. And then they'll even say their names, and they'll be really specific, and the village where they lived. And when you look into it, these people, that was a real person, and they did die in the way that the child described.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that I 100% believe it,
No.
but I think it's very compelling.
And like they say about birthmarks and things like that, don't they?
Yeah.
Things which matches the stories that they've come up with again as well.
Like a bullet hole, someone got killed by a gun and they've got a birthmark.
Yeah. I know, speaking to you before here, you sort of mentioned about anxiety and things like that and stuff as well. Is that?
Yeah, I think when people think anxiety is just being anxious, they're so far removed from the reality of anxiety. In the late 90s, suddenly, only for about a year, I went to bed one night. I lived on my own. I lived on my own quite a few times over that period of time. Didn't bother me. I had a little flat, one bedroom flat, had a cat. Was quite happy, loved my own company, wasn't lonely, wasn't scared of the dark. And just one night in bed, I was just sat reading, and all of a sudden, my hands started sweating. And I felt like something was sitting on my chest. And I just felt so scared. I nearly phoned an ambulance. I thought I was having a heart attack. And what it was a panic attack. And then about a week later, I had another one. And at first, it was just in the night in bed until I started almost dreading going to bed in case I got a panic attack. And then one morning, I woke up feeling like that, and it just didn't go. And I think there was romantically, that was all of a bit of a mess at the time. I was doing an Open University degree, which was quite stressful, and I didn't have much money because I wasn't working. So I suppose all these little stresses probably all built up. That's all I can think of. I don't remember one specific thing as sparking it all off. But living with anxiety is like living with this huge weight on you that is always there.
Yeah.
And you don't get like a couple of hours off it and then you feel anxious again. It's just you are living in anxiety. I had to be really, really careful about what I watched on television. I couldn't watch the news. I couldn't watch anything that was in a hospital or anything like that. I was sort of the blandest thing I could watch. I was just kind of watching soap operas, but not hospital ones, nature programs, anything that wasn't going to kind of make me go, oh. But even like while I was watching something that might be, very light-hearted and easy to watch, still in my brain, there was this feeling of absolute foreboding. And got sent to see, my doctor sent me to see a counsellor. And that didn't help me. Gave me amitriptyline. I took one night and made me worse. So they went straight in the bin.
Yeah.
And it kind of went as suddenly as it came.
Right, okay.
I've never really known what caused it and what made it go.
Yeah.
All I know is one of the worst times in my life. It was worse than the addiction times in a way because I just got on with my addiction. It was just life. This was like living in fear all the time. It was horrible.
Because I kind of experienced that myself about 15 years ago or so, and that came from like a couple of losses. Like there was, I lost my grandfather I lost him like a year before, but different reasons. I hadn't really grieved for him, and I knew that. Basically, I was in a hospital and we was visiting sort of while he was ill. And then when he passed away, because my nan was there, I knew it was bad because my mum turned around to me and said, "Oh, you need to be strong for your nan." And as soon as she said it, I thought that's not the best thing to say because it's all part of that process, isn't it? But I still took that in, and I still took that order, really, I suppose, at that time. And kept everything else into myself, which I knew wasn't healthy. And then about a year later, I'd been sort of working in sport in my spare time, part-time. And we'd had some really big successes in that. There was a few people that had won their first tournaments and things while I was working with them. So I had the highs of those, but I then went into work on the Monday after having a really good weekend of those. And someone I was working with for quite a period of time, he'd originally been homeless, and I'd kind of he was just on the verge of getting a set of keys in his hand for a property that council and housing associations have said there's no way that we're going to house you because of his history or apparent history. And I'd kind of fought for him and advocated for him because the history was put onto the system in error, if you like. It wasn't true or factual. So we had that removed, which then they kind of handed him a set of keys, or were going to. And he kind of was still living on the streets, but he got pneumonia and was put into an induced coma in hospital, never came out, unfortunately. And then I had a battle with the Housing Association because I phoned them up to let them know. And the worker, who had always been difficult, on the phone said to me, "Oh, well, that's one less we need to worry about." So, absolutely shocking. So, and then I had that. So there was a big mixture of things, really, which kind of helped me into that kind of time of where I started having panic attacks and things. But I always kind of, when I look at it, we only need like very small changes, don't we? I feel that just lowers our levels enough to then make us feel really self-aware, uncomfortable, and alert to things. That then you can kind of go into having panic attacks. Thanks a lot for that.
It is what you're saying. It is like hyper self-awareness, isn't it? You almost feel your blood going through your veins. And your brain sitting in your head, and it's like that thought of, like, where did we come from, and thinking about how vast the universe is, and sometimes I have to go, oh, I can't think about that. That's sending me over the edge. It's a bit too much. But it's like just existing in your own body is a bit too much. Really difficult to deal with.
So is that so are you still unaware of what may have caused that for yourself at that time?
All I can think of, you see, the way I was brought up was that you don't go to people with your problems. You made your own bed, you lie in it. And then, I say, I was in this abusive relationship, and I learned that if I showed emotion, if he hit me and I cried, he'd hit me harder. Because it'll like give him satisfaction. And I thought, if I don't cry, if I don't show any emotion at all, it'll be over quicker. So I was like a Buddhist monk or something. I trained myself not to feel emotions. And even now, I'll be watching a sad film with my husband, and he'll have tears in his eyes, and he'll look at me completely dry-eyed and go, "I can't believe you're not crying over this. It's really tragic." And I'll say, "Yeah, I think it's sad." But no, I'm not getting involved deep down.
So, I understand that. It's connecting like the awareness and the knowing, isn't it? Really, to kind of the emotions and things.
Yeah. Psychologically, I know that it's absolutely tragic what just happened. It's very, very sad that this character in this film has just died, and everyone's crying around them, and my husband's crying. But I sort of remain like dry-eyed, and I just think that's because I train myself a little bit too well. To kind of step back from my emotions, and I feel the physical pain of being hit in the face. But whereas when the relationship started, I would be crying and I'd be heartbroken that the man I loved was doing this to me. It kind of separated my emotions from what was going on. I think once you've done that, as obviously as well as I did do it, very difficult to unpick that. So I cried when my dad died, and I cried when my mum died, and I cried when my grandma died, and I cried when my cat died. I did have a few tears on my wedding day, tears of happiness. I'm more likely to cry if something's happy than if something's upsetting.
No, it's interesting in itself. It's I think I've gone through different stages really of like I knew when I was working with the police for years ago, I knew that I was at a bit of a crossroads where I was happy to kind of stay on, loved the work, but knew that it was kind of changing me as a person, where I was people were on the phone to me saying, "Oh, did you hear about this happening the other day?" And it wouldn't really affect me. I'd just think, well, and really, that's sort of,
Yeah.
yeah, that's sad, but it kind of happens every day and things. And I've got, and so I knew it was kind of changing me, but then, so there was a bit of a decision. I always missed the work as well, but I knew that there was other things I kind of wanted to learn that the police wasn't going to give me. So I thought, right, I've got an opportunity there to go down a different road instead.
Yeah.
Um, and it always makes me wonder if I've kept on that track, what would have happened or how would I have been. Whereas I slowly started getting my normal sense of humour back and things like that from not. So
those sort of jobs, I think you do have to toughen up, don't you? Or you wouldn't be able to do the job.
Yeah, no, and I think really from my experience of going back like a second time, I was really happy to go back into that environment with free rein really to work in the way that I'd originally been trained to. Like for me, that was really kind of allowing me to be able to make a difference, and you could see the results and things as well, which I really enjoyed. And then when things started to kind of narrow again, that made me feel really uncomfortable, which then put me back in a position where I'd been years ago of making me feel uncomfortable and making me question whether I was really doing any good and helping. And then a few other things were kind of going on as well, that I sort of thought, I don't need to kind of do this. I can be happier by kind of sticking with sport and going down that route, but still being able to help everyday people in the way that I'd like to. Which it was the right thing for me at the time, but I think that was me protecting myself really, because I thought I've been here before and I don't really want to put myself in that position again. But I think I really have, and I really mean that as well. I've definitely, even not talking and things like that, I'd often kind of reflect and sort of hear on Facebook and things about what you were doing. I think, wow, like you've been able to kind of adjust to those times, and it absolutely makes sense to myself as well, is that you've kind of adjusted because you knew that if you didn't, you wouldn't then be able to help the people that you wanted to help. So, completely makes sense. Where was the? I know Rich here as well. I don't normally, because when we normally talk to someone, I normally concentrate on the person that we've got with and not really the comments. So I'm sorry if I've missed many on there. But he kind of brought up imposter syndrome, which I always think is really interesting as well.
Yeah.
I will kind of go and talk about that another time, Rich, if you're about. But it does.
We all have it, Rich. We all have it.
Yeah.
I've been teaching Kundalini yoga now for about 4 or 5 years, and I still, every Monday night when I'm sat on that mat, I still feel like an imposter.
Yeah, that's because his question really, I was sitting there thinking, I will ask you about it, because there must, from what you've described, has there been many times over the years where you've sort of thought about imposter syndrome, or whether you deserve to be somewhere, or
most of the time.
Yeah.
I think my journey through life, getting into what I got into, being in an abusive relationship, was all part of low self-esteem. And I've done a lot of work on self-development, masses and masses, every day still. When I have my cup of tea in the morning, I put YouTube on and I'll watch something inspiring. So I've done, and also the team that I work with me skincare, we all seem to have got the same sort of personality. It's as much about personal development as products. So I'm working on myself in some way every day, but I still have to work on that low self-esteem. And it's something that you have to work on, because the wrong decisions that you make in your life, because you think, oh, I'm not worthy of this, or I have turned into someone that does things despite low self-esteem now. I will do something even though I feel I'm getting imposter syndrome. I'll push through it and I'll do it anyway. And I do think that stepping out of your comfort zone is part of being alive.
Yeah.
Now that I'm retired, there's no way I'm going to sit in every day and watch daytime TV. I'm not that sort of person. I'll constantly push and do something that is out my comfort zone, because I suppose that's my dopamine hit now.
Yeah. Is there? I know you've mentioned the way that you kind of manage that and kind of override it. Really, is there any specific tools that you kind of know that you use, or that you realise that you use to kind of manage that as well?
Um, I practice gratitude a lot.
Mm,
Um, I am eternally grateful every day for what I have,
mm,
and I think about it, and when I'm journaling, I write about what I'm grateful for.
yeah.
Um, I think it's true. We've got this reticular activation system
Mm,
that tunes into what we show interest in. So if we're looking for reasons to feel down or to feel anxious, we will find them all around us.
yeah.
If we're looking for reasons to feel happy and grateful, then we'll find them all around us.
Yeah.
So I'm not into toxic positivity. I wouldn't say to a person who's severely depressed, "Oh, cheer up, let's go for a walk in nature."
Yeah.
You know? But if you are already kind of a positive person, doing those things kind of just builds it up stronger and stronger.
Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah. No, it's good. It's funny as well. We often talk on here about like different methods of counselling and things like that and stuff, and different things that help different people. And I know what I respond to really well. Like we was talking about here the other day about like person-centered counselling, I where I was doing my training years ago, I really struggled with someone saying, how did that make you feel? And the listening is really powerful, obviously a
Yeah,
huge, really useful tool. But myself, I need something to kind of react with. I need to be told that I'm wrong sometimes. If
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and
Person centered, it just isn't directive at all, is it?
no, and it obviously different people will respond, and it suits different situations as well, doesn't it? That thing.
Yeah,
So, I know we had a conversation the other evening about CBT, and someone said it really helped them. Someone else said it didn't help me at all. So,
yeah. It's
we
helped me.
are,
I mean, I suppose this is a mental issue. It's up until about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. I was really bad arachnophobic.
right, yeah,
Really, really bad. I didn't even like the word spider,
right,
even just the word. Maybe go, "Oh, don't say the word, please."
yeah,
And I worked on myself. I used I used what I'd learned about addiction and the amygdala, and realised that the amygdala is trying to keep us alive, and the amygdala tells us when something is frightening,
mm,
and our behaviour and our thoughts around that can kind of solidify what the amygdala is thinking, and
mm,
confirms that something's terrifying. I didn't know why I thought spiders were terrifying. I can only imagine my mum was an arachnophobic. She's put that onto me at some point as a young child. I've seen her react. Um, but I realised that every time I acted in a terrified way, I was telling my brain, yeah, it's right to be terrified. So
mm,
if I was sitting in my living room and suddenly there was a big spider on the wall, I would scream for my husband. And
yeah,
he'd know exactly what it was because nothing else made me scream like that. And he'd come on, where is it? Oh, for God's sake, it's tiny. Look at it. I go, I don't want to look at it. Just take it out, take it out, take it out. I'd be standing on the couch by now, wouldn't have my feet on the floor.
mm,
And then so I just decided, let's stop reacting like that. So
yeah,
the next time I saw one, still got that. But I went, John, can you do me a favour? Can you just come and get rid of the spider for me, please?
yeah,
And it really helped.
yeah,
That was me telling my brain, it's not terrifying, it's just a bit uncomfortable, it's not something I can deal with, it's not enough to make me scream, for God's sake. And I am at the point now where I couldn't pick a really big one up, but I can pick a small spider up and just put it out the window,
yeah. That's
whereas I
good.
wouldn't have even wanted to be in the same room as it.
Yeah.
So that's doing that CBT on myself is, CBT is very powerful.
I'll have to admit something myself. Really, they're not my favourite, and but then where I've had my children, I kind of want to encourage them to obviously not be fearful of things,
Yeah,
and which got to a point of where I went to visit a farm a little while ago, like during the summer, and they had different reptiles and things there, but they had tarantulas there as well. And I turned round, and my son, he was how old was he at the time? Must have been 5 or 6. He stood there with a tarantula on his hand as I've turned round, where someone in there, as a member of staff's just come over and said, "Oh, do you want to hold that?" and put it on his hand. And then straight away he's turned to me and gone, "Do you want to hold?" It's like, and I've gone, "No, you're okay. I'm just going to go over it." But yeah, I was so pleased for him because
Yeah.
it's something I wouldn't really like to do.
Yeah, that's my ambition now, is to hold a tarantula on my hand.
Yeah,
I'd be
yeah.
more like to hold a tarantula on my hand than a big garden spider, I think.
Right, okay, yeah, yeah.
But
No.
I beat addiction. I've jumped out of planes. I've done a lot of things in my life that I'm proud of doing.
Yeah,
But nothing has made me so proud as overcoming that fear, because it was so deep seated, and I didn't go to a specialist, a therapist. I worked out how to do it myself, and I did it, and so I'm really proud of that.
yeah. No, and so you should be. And I think as well, like, I know obviously you're retired now, but I know you've got new projects and things sort of you're looking at and as well. But I think I think that's why you kind of obviously was so good at what you do. And there's we quite often talk about. I was always used to get those questions of certain people, which I can completely understand them. Whereas it was questions like, "When have you ever been addicted to something?" When you're trying to give advice or guidance to someone in that situation, and thankfully I could relate to the sort of gym and things like that. But then
Yeah.
it was a case, yeah, but you've never been homeless or you've never, yeah. So, and I could always understand those questions. Um, like, what was your thoughts in that environment? Is there one big thing that you'd like to see changed with the way services sort of are and how they sort of run?
I would like I would like us to stop being so afraid of clients.
Mm,
Um, People, just like everyone. And yeah,
yeah.
you might get, a client. I've never been, in 20 years, I've never been physically hurt
Mm,
by someone I've been working with. I've been shouted at, yelled at, which is
yeah.
frustration coming from their point. Never been physically hurt. And yet we've got all these little buzzers that client wants to go to the toilet, and we've got to buzz them and they can't just go in. We've got to wait for them to come out in case, because there's syringe exchange supplies there and we don't want anyone. The clients, we've got all our mugs, but the clients get paper cups.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just seems like I would love, when I mentioned I volunteered at Sahir House,
Yeah.
we didn't call the people that came in clients, we called them members.
Yeah.
They paid a membership fee of, I think it was £1 a year,
Mm,
which made them members. And they came in, we bust the door open for them, but then they came in, they had free reign of all the rooms.
yeah.
There was a room full of computers, they could go on that, they could go in there and watch the telly, they could go and have a shower, and they felt it was their place.
Yeah.
And it was a very positive place to volunteer, because you'd see people coming in just being diagnosed, feeling that their life was over, and no, this place, it just put a big warm hug around them, and it told them, you're worth something, we'll work with you and we'll help you. Whereas I've worked in criminal justice, and I get that when you're working in probation, you have all these mad things like that door's locked from that side, this door's locked from the other side. And I get that because it's a criminal justice building. But a building where people are coming in to get help voluntarily, I don't think it should be regimented. I think the rooms should be nicer. I think there should be a decent coffee machine in the front. I think there should be more activities, taking people out for the day. I've kept in touch with some of my clients who I've been working with for a long time, because it is difficult, when you suddenly get a new worker and you miss your old worker. And just a select handful. And I was told, no, you're not allowed to do that. And I said, well, I'm retiring. I don't work for anyone anymore. And if they want me to contact them, I can. I know my own boundaries. I can keep myself safe. And I've got one client, I said to her, if you're good, don't get into any trouble, I'll come up in summer and I'll take her out for a drive. And she's like, oh, that's brilliant. Because I know that with her, she is someone else who can't really get out much. She will sit and watch TV all day, and then she'll start wanting to use something. Whereas if she can just see a little bit of what's out there and what's possible that normal people do, and walk around the park or whatever, or a little trip to the seaside, that would help her. And I think that, just going off that for a moment, I've had a friend, and she went to be a drug worker in Australia, and she has 6 clients but she did everything with them. She took them to swimming, she took them to the cinema, and it's much more of a holistic approach. How can you really? I mean, we did do valuable work, didn't we? But really, against the odds, really, sometimes you're seeing someone for half an hour
Yeah.
once every 4 weeks. You know, how much change can you make? So yeah, I think I would completely reform drug services to be more person centered
Yeah, no,
rather
I
than
completely
prescriptive.
agree with that. And one of the biggest things that I was really proud to work with is I was no good at football ever. I was useless at football, but I knew that there was, in the first time I worked within that area, in Widnes mainly, is they had quite a few service users that kind of were interested in football. Um, so I suggested about, is there a way that we can kind of start a fitness group or, a football group? Um, and I was allowed to do that. So they gave me an hour each week to start running a football group. We ended up with about 30 people taking part in it. The first week I'll never ever forget because they literally lasted two minutes, and then they were running out of sports hall being sick outside and things because of the exercise and everything else. Um, After a few months, fitness levels had increased. They'd given up alcohol use. They were really starting to make changes on other substance use and things. And when they were asked in their sessions with key workers and stuff, all of them were mentioning, "Oh, it's the football. I want to be fit for the football. There's apparently a tournament coming up that we might be able to enter. I want to be fit for that. I want to be picked and chosen for that." Um, Unfortunately, after doing that for almost a year, I went in one day and it was literally overnight. I was due to run the session the next day, and the manager called me in and said, "Oh, been told we haven't got funding for any more of that. You're going to have to stop it." So when they said that, I was obviously really disappointed. Gave my opinion and things. Said, "Well, look, we've worked so hard. There's huge, great big changes and results." I even started getting good at football because I started playing with things and stuff. So it's good, doing me good as well. But it made such a difference. And then I said, "Well, how much notice have we got? When have we got to stop?" And they said, "Well, tomorrow. You're going to have to tell them tomorrow that that's the last session." And that really, really annoyed me because I knew how damaging.
Put someone on the road to relapse.
Yeah,
If that be really counting on that, and then it's suddenly taken away from them.
yeah, we knew that it did. That's what happened to a few people, and it was basically one of the commissioners come in and had to explain why it had stopped. And he said, but you're gonna have to get on with it. There's other things you can access in here, like therapies and things like that. Put your name down for those instead. It's just so blunt and ruthless at the time, and that was another big blow for myself. I just thought, it's like so frustrating because you could see the good work that it was doing. Even with a bit of notice, yes, it was sad and unfortunate things, but at least then I could have explained to them properly and then been able to encourage them to start something up themselves, or we could have looked at putting something else in place to support them. But yeah, unfortunately, that's just the nature of it. I think as
Whenever you've got public funding, you have to show really hard facts, don't you?
Yeah. But and I kind of experienced that in youth work when I started. That came into youth work. Then I went into like police and criminal justice, and I saw it come into there. And then the last place I saw it really was addiction work, where I recognised that again with new targets coming off. Oh, here we go again. It's another service that's going to be changed, and unfortunately it was. But we'll have to. I don't know. We'll have to start up our own place with you.
We will.
Fancy coffee machine and. But I completely agree with you.
Go see the commissioners.
Yeah, but I completely agree. It's I think the stigma of it comes into play then as well, isn't it? Because people then sat there thinking, why do these people get this, and why is the money being spent in that way? and not being able to see the actual results and difference it does make, unfortunately. So.
And even financially, I don't know whether these figures are still true, but I can remember reading years ago that for every £1 you spent on drug and alcohol services, saved £9 on criminal justice, hospital admissions, social services. It all mounts up. The money that addiction costs in the community. So if you can treat that addiction, then that's money well spent.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'd see. I didn't realise Rich was still here, but I'll definitely catch up with you, Rich, in a moment as well. And
I'll have to. I've got to go up early in the morning. Installing Kirby if anyone's in that area.
Okay, what you? I was going to say to you is there kind of like social media, other things that you do that you'd like to kind of mention while you're kind of here? And
I sell Tropic Skincare, which is like I'm 63, and it works for me. It's all healthy, organic, cruelty-free, vegan, freshly made in the UK. But you won't find it in the shops.
Right.
So I'll be in Kirby. I'm not sure where yet. I'm going to find out. I've never driven to Kirby, so stepping out my comfort zone.
Yeah, that's not. I'll obviously keep in contact with you, and I think we might need a part 2 on here sometime. So if you don't mind,
I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, that's brilliant, and I know there'll be lots of comments afterwards, and probably people asking stuff as well. Thank you so much for coming on, and it's really great to catch up with you again as well. If anything, is there words of wisdom from Sue that you'd like to pass on to, I don't know, anyone that's stuck or anyone that wants to kind of make a change? Or
that change is always difficult, even if it's change for the better. Our brains don't like change.
Yeah.
But it's like that sign that you see in some rehabs: if you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Remember that sometimes when you want to give up something that you're trying to do, it's your animal brain just wanting things to stay the same. And look forward to the future. Get into that. I'm very into manifesting, massively into manifesting. See yourself as that person who has achieved that thing. What did that person have to do? And just remind yourself, okay, this might feel uncomfortable right now, but I can get through it. And look what's on the other side for me. Don't give up, I suppose is what I'm saying.
No, that's great. Caroline said there, never judge a fish by its ability to fly. So,
if anyone does want to ask me any questions, just give me a follow and I'll follow you back, and then you can send me a message.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Makes a change from all the people, Johnny Depp following me and Elon Musk following me.
Yeah, I've had both of those follow me as well.
Yeah, so it's weird, isn't it?
It's amazing how they both want to be in contact with me and you.
Yeah. Maybe we can get funding for our new service.
Yeah, it's true. We'll have to put that one out there. So I definitely think we're going to have a second one. So thank you so much. And I was going to say, if anyone, I was going to encourage everybody really to give Sue a follow if you can, just on here. You're easy to find on Facebook and things like that as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm just Sue Letchford everywhere.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thank you so much, Sue.
You're welcome.
I'll kind of drop you after here as well. So.
Okay.
Right, thanks a lot for that. I'll push the button if I can find it. So.
Okay.
There you go. Have a good evening. I'll see you soon.
You too. Take care.